Hello, my name is Mike Rayner, and this video is how to remote desktop from Windows 7 to Raspberry Pi. The outcomes for this video would be to install XRDP Remote Desktop Protocol Server in Raspberry Pi, and then show you how to turn XRDP off and on. Then remote desktop from a Windows 7 computer to the Raspberry Pi computer. This video does not cover keyboard mappings. Basically, what keyboard mappings refers to is that you have to have the same keyboard settings or keyboard mappings on both your Windows machine and your Raspberry Pi machines. Otherwise, when you type one key on one machine, it may not be understood on the second machine. Requirements: a Windows 7 host or guest computer. I'm using a Windows 7 guest computer. A Raspberry Pi computer, and an internet connection and a local area network LAN with both computers on the same LAN. Additional info: here's two sites that I've found that you can get some additional info on how to set up remote desktop. And finally, a disclaimer: while I have researched this material, I can't fully verify that it will work with all combinations of hardware and software out there. So I've been asked to include a disclaimer. If you wish, you can stop the video and read the disclaimer. Here I am connected to a Raspberry Pi computer using PuTTY, a Windows SSH or Secure Shell client. Another way you could connect to your Raspberry Pi is to use SSH from a Linux machine. Now, I would like to show you from the monitor how to do this, but unfortunately I don't have a spare monitor or a spare TV to hook the Raspberry Pi to. So I have to go ahead and do it this way. To install a Windows Remote Desktop Protocol Server, we're going to use XRDP. So to do that, use sudo apt-get install XRDP. And it's going to trundle a little bit, get some information, and it tells you how much disk space will be used. So you'll notice that says starting remote desktop protocol server. Before we go on, we'll show you how to turn this thing on and off. Basically, this allows a Windows 7 or a Windows 8 machine to use remote desktop to get to your Raspberry Pi. Sudo service xrdp stop. And so we'll stop it. And then if you want to restart it, you could sudo service xrdp start. And of course, there's also, if you've done some things or changed some configuration files on XRDP, you can also do an XRDP restart. So you'll see it's stopping and starting. Now, one other thing that you will need the IP address of your Raspberry Pi computer, and the best way to do that is just do an ifconfig. And in this case, it's 192.168.1.15. So let's log out here, and the next section of the video would be to remote desktop into our Raspberry Pi machine. Here we have a Windows 7 machine that's on the same local area network. So we're going to remote desktop to our Raspberry Pi. And if you recall we looked up the IP address. You can use the host name, but I don't have a domain name server on this network. So I'll just use the IP address, and that just eliminates one area where you could have some problems. Click connect, and it says that a remote computer cannot be verified, and we're going to ask you to connect anyway, and click yes. And here is put in the username and password for the Raspberry Pi. And one thing, this is not secure using the default like I have. You should change your username and your password for your Raspberry Pi. Click OK. Here we are at the Raspberry Pi, and this is where you would normally go if you wanted to find the IP address. So you've got your terminal here. If you want to work around with Scratch, you'll see it opens up. Now one thing, because Raspberry Pi is not the quickest computer, so you may get some hang-ups or may not pass through as quickly as you normally would between two Windows machines. But you can still get your work done. That's pretty much it for remote desktop from your Windows 7 or Windows 8 machine to Raspberry Pi. Thank you.